Lexi. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Excited to have you on. Saw some of your more recent stuff on social media, and we've known each other for a little while. But excited to hear some of your thoughts, ideas, and just kind of discuss a few things. So, I guess first and foremost, I didn't realize how political you were, like how into politics, and I think that's really interesting. I think young adults, there's like two sides, right? There's people who are really into it, and then there's people who are like I won't associate with politics. I don't want to talk about politics. And then I think there's a lot of people in the middle who are sitting there going, I want to be involved. I want to like have a voice. I just don't know exactly like where to stand on things. So I'm curious, what sparked that journey for you? And then I'd love to hear what you're doing now with, is it AFP? Is that what it's called? Okay.
AFP, yeah.
So I'm curious just what sparked that journey? Because I knew you in high school, and then I knew you sang and things like that, but I didn't know that you were so passionate about politics.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking, and thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to talk about all of this. Obviously, I'm very passionate about it. I think for me, I've always had a passion for defending the Constitution and kind of just what that meant.
Yeah.
I think there's a religious figure in my religion that has been quoted saying that in the last days, the Constitution of the United States would be hanging by a thread. And that has always stuck with me ever since I was a little girl. And so I think as I got older, and especially during COVID, that was my senior year of high school. And so I feel like that, I mean, everybody was really affected. And I think that was at a point in my life where it was the first year I was going to be voting. And it was very quickly, I saw how things became political. And there was really just a lot of violence and a lot of contention during 2020. And it was just a really hard year for a lot of people. And so I think that's kind of where I started to pay a little bit more attention politically and started to care about these things. Because I saw how many people, I mean, so many things happened because it wasn't just COVID, it was Black Lives Matter, it was the Save Our Children movement. Like, there was so much that happened that year. And, yeah, I think I was just really fired up, and I really fell into politics. And then I was really just vocal about it online, and I felt very strongly about having conversations with people, and never combatively, because that doesn't do anything. That doesn't you can't convince anybody. If you're full of anger and contention, you're not going to convince anyone. You're not going to help anyone see the light, right? So
yeah, you're not going to convince them off the Twitter.
Yeah, no, seriously. And so I think after I, 19, 20, 21, I started to kind of realize that. I was like, okay, this is not an effective way to engage or to make change. And I actually kind of took a back seat to politics. And I always had this dream in the back of my mind that my dream job was to work in depolarizing politics. That was kind of like my dream.
Yeah.
But then I was, in college at BYU Hawaii, and I was doing a bunch of different stuff and kind of leaned more into the government side of things and was interested in potentially international affairs, policy. I really liked the research side, so I thought, maybe I'll be a policy analyst. So that kind of, when I graduated, that was kind of my plan.
Sure.
And then I went to grad school at BYU, and same kind of goal. Like, I think I want to be a policy analyst, but we'll see. And then I had to get an internship, and I couldn't find one. And I actually had a friend from Arizona who worked at this political campaign firm that had posted about they were looking for interns, and I was so desperate. I was like, I need something. It was in Salt Lake. It paid $15 an hour, and I was like, you know what? I'll take it. Like, I need something.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of when I kind of fell back into politics. I was 21 at the time. And, yeah, I was kind of learning more about Utah politics, and you just start to, I think at that point I really started to see how politics affects us every day. We don't even realize it. And I started to, I don't know, I was a lot closer on the front lines of it all. And so I kind of became more passionate about it again.
Right.
And then that's kind of when I started to feel strongly about my age group, my generation getting involved, because I think at that point I did have a lot of friends kind of paint me as the politics girl. And I would get so annoyed. Like boys wouldn't date me over it.
Really?
Yes. And I was just like,
wow.
I'm like, this is insane, because this is our country.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean people fought for us to have a voice and to have freedoms, to have a representative system where we can be represented, and you don't want to be represented? What do you mean that people died for this country, and you say you love it once a year on the 4th of July? And then you're asking mom and dad who you should vote for every year, which is fine. I get it. We've all been there. And I ask my parents half the time who to vote for too. I get it. But I think that's why it's more important now more than ever that we do learn these things right now, so that in 10, 15 years, when we are the next generation, we are raising our children, we are seeing, because a lot of us aren't seeing the impacts of these policies, right? We're not, there's so much, there are so many categories of policy, and so it can get really overwhelming, and I understand, but as parents, you start to see how education policies impact your kids.
Right.
You start to realize how burdensome taxes are, and you start to realize, all these things, and so people do tend to get more involved with politics when they're 30, 40, 50 years old, and it's like, okay, well, let's start now so that we can not have to have all these problems when we're raising a family, right? So that's kind of where my passion for our generation needing to get involved kind of came from.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What was you said people weren't like not willing to date you over that. Like, what explain that a little bit, because that's kind of unique.
Well, so I've had two different experiences. One a while ago, and one a little more recently that I was like. So the first one was, he's actually one of my really great friends to this day. So no harm, no foul. But I had a crush on him back in the day, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember my best friend had talked with him or something, and he was like, we just like different things. Like, she's just really into politics, and I just am really not. I was like, so you're saying we can't date because of that? Are you so for real? Like,
yeah, you guys can help each other out. You can take that front.
Right.
He can take the whatever side of it he's wanting.
Yeah. So that was the first thing, and then more recently, I had someone that I had gone on a date with, and I guess he had told me that his friends were like, dude, she's like really political. Like, are you sure that you're like okay with that? And I'm like, bro, are we so, like, I get it. Like, and I've talked about this online. I'm like, I get it.
Right.
It like feels like, oh yeah, that's really cool. You're into politics. It's like, no. This is like a duty. This is a responsibility.
Right.
That we don't realize until much later into our lives. But I am trying to help my peers see that this isn't just like a hobby. This isn't just a thing that is interesting. It's kind of just like what you do as a citizen. It's just it's just what you do.
Yeah, you like care about freedom and having, rights and stuff, and you want others to care about it.
Yeah.
Or you think people would care about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that people are really gun shy about politics sometimes.
Yeah.
But what's weird too is I wouldn't say, like, at least from the things I've seen you post, it doesn't seem like you're, because there are people in politics who are kind of out there to agitate and cause problems and, call the other side dumb or stupid for having that opinion. And so, like, I think each side has their moments, but you're pretty kind of middle of the road, I would say. Not like, obviously you kind of have very constitutional beliefs, it seems like, but I wouldn't say extreme in any sort of way. So that's kind of weird that people get weird about that.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad you brought this up, because this is probably one of the things I'm most passionate about ever, and probably ever will be most passionate about this. Like I said, I was very interested in working in depolarizing politics.
Yeah.
During my undergrad, I learned a lot about group conflict, and I learned a lot about identities and identity theory, and I was just so fascinated by it, because during COVID, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, we saw this all the time, right? The black square that everyone was putting on there, right? Yeah. I did it. I'll be so honest, I did it. Like, I remember when it all started, I like changed my profile picture to be black, and then I got rid of it really quickly, because I was like, wait, what? Like, what is going on?
Well, it was tough because politics is each side is so good at targeting your emotions.
Yeah.
And so it was really like, it was that time where people were like, well, I like black people, I got a black friend. I support, I'm not,
absolutely,
I'm not racist,
Right.
And so I think a lot of people, they weren't trying to like, they just were trying to say like, no, I support black people, because that's kind of what it made it out to seem.
Absolutely.
But it definitely got kind of out of hand.
It did.
Yeah.
And I think it is quite literally in our human nature to want to be part of something, to be, that's why we have families. Like, we are meant to be part of communities and to be part of groups. And I think sometimes that can create a negative outcome, because you get tribalism in politics, which already is such a high emotion environment, and now you've got like our human nature that is like, oh, you're wearing a MAGA hat, you are the scum of the earth.
Right.
And personally, I try to avoid any sort of markers that indicate my identity other than my religious identity, because to me that's the only thing that matters. And so when it comes to political identity, I think a lot of people out there, I call it this the silent majority, have, maybe a belief or two within their party that they disagree with, right? Or maybe just a different idea. And I think when we wear the MAGA hats, when we do all these things, we are attaching our identity to a set of ideas, essentially.
Right.
And if you don't feel like your identity agrees with all of those things, then in my opinion, you shouldn't express yourself that way.
Right.
And so that's where, for me on social media, I do tend to stay away from the more polarizing, not even just appearance, but language. And I also think that back to, I learned, I knew when I was 18, I still engaged a little bit in the like, oh, I just cooked you kind of conversations.
Right.
But especially as I've gotten older, I've realized we all want the same things. We all want to be happy. We all want to be healthy. We all want to have, this and that. We just sometimes have different ways about how that looks.
Right.
We also have different values that we prioritize over other values. And so it's like, I can't hate a person for having different values than me, or for even just simply being misinformed or being ignorant. And so when you're on social media and you're engaging and I, don't get me wrong, I've had people comment things that I have to like take a deep breath and reply the way that I know that I should, because again, it doesn't, and there's going to be people that you just can't change their minds, but I think the media, social media, wants us to fight. They want us to be against each other, because that's how they're going to get views and clicks, and people they thrive off of contention. And I'm absolutely entirely against that. And so I still post things that sometimes I look back and I'm like, okay, I didn't need to post that. Like maybe that was, but I also recognize that it's okay and you don't need to apologize for having your values and for having your beliefs. I don't need to explain myself. So
yeah, no, that's what's so tough. It's like, because being inflammatory is what gets people to watch, and so now we just have a culture of, constant inflammation of people just putting things out, trying to get looks. But I think it does. The hard part is like, I think a lot more people are middle ground, but you kind of want to join a tribe.
Totally.
And so you get really tribal about it. And so, you get the people who are super conservative one way, or they listen to, Tucker, or they listen to Candace, or they listen to Nick Fuentes or whatever, right? The gropers or whatever they're called. I don't even know. But and then you've got, well, that's a whole nother, side of it, the infighting even within the conservative media now. It seems like there's a lot going on there.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I know that's kind of been, it seems like everyone was really united for a while there on the conservative side, and then there's been, I think Israel's really the thing that's got everyone up in arms. There's a half that's like really pro-Israel, and in some ways don't talk bad about Israel. I think that's the problem there, is like, don't say anything against Israel. That's one side. The other side seems to be, we're not anti-Israel. We're just not really pro-jeopardizing ourselves in the process.
Right.
But then they're getting attacked as if they hate Jews. Yeah. And that seems to be the divide. But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely a lot of different categories of Republicans right now.
Yeah.
I think even in this last election, I think there were a lot of Republicans that voted for Donald Trump sort of not wanting to.
Yeah.
And then there still were MAGA, right? There was still MAGA people that were super worshiping Trump. So I think that divide has always, for the most part, has always existed.
Yeah.
I think there are also with that, I also think there are Republicans that are the silent majority that don't want divisiveness, that don't want all these things, that are a little bit more open-minded and moderate, but maybe they're not as emotional, so maybe they're not as vocal.
Right.
But then I have friends who because I personally have always leaned more on the side of being a bridge builder, and we need to work together, and I know that is looked down upon from some Republicans.
Sure.
And I'm even learning, because I have some friends that, you know, kind of challenge my way of thinking, and I actually appreciate it, because I think it's all needed. I think we need to have disagreements and discussions about these things. But I have some Republican friends that say, you know, if we, like, what conservative values have been conserved in the last decade or 2 decades? And it kind of got me thinking, like, oh, like, you think about some of the social issues that are getting more and more progressive, and I'm like, wow, like, I guess we haven't really conserved things. And so I have friends who are like, we need to be as right-winged as possible, because if we don't, then it'll completely
Right.
the other side will completely just take over. And so I was like, wow, that's actually a really good point. So I'm even still kind of figuring out, like, how to have a good balance of being a bridge builder, but standing firm in your beliefs and not willing to bend on those. And then when it comes to pro-Israel and pro-questioning Israel, I guess we'll put it that way, there is a divide. And I think that I think it is dangerous to not, and this is something that I have always felt strongly about, and I think this is exactly what we're seeing happen in the Republican Party, but I think that we spend so much of our time questioning and challenging the other side to try to catch them, you know, in just whatever.
Yeah.
Flawed thinking and whatnot. We spend so much time doing that we forget that we have room to grow within our own party, and that we also can get into a groupthink mob mentality state. And it's important that we question and challenge our own ideas too, that we don't just blindly go with whatever Donald Trump is saying, or blindly going with whatever politician is telling us because they're the Republican representative, right? And so I think what we're seeing happen, and unfortunately what I think was going to be something so revolutionary for the Republican Party, was when Charlie Kirk started to ask questions about Israel.
Yeah.
And I think that I think it did 2 things. I think it was the start of, like I said, kind of revamping the Republican Party a little bit. But I also think it gave people courage to be okay questioning things within their own party. And obviously, he's not here anymore, and now, we've got, like, Ben Shapiro, pro-Israel, and then we've got Nick Fuentes, who is just, like,
whole other side of the coin.
Whole other side. And to be honest with you, I've heard friends tell me that they think that Nick is going to be kind of like the next, like, Charlie for the youth, and I'm like, please no.
Right.
Like, I just don't. I think that Charlie was I think he's just the best person to do what he did, because he was pro-Israel. He was all these things. He was very reasonable, but he also was okay challenging ideas. And I think he gained a lot of respect and a lot of credibility for kind of what he did. But I don't think Nick could possibly have the same credibility or respect from people that Charlie had.
Right.
And so I do, I think there's absolutely this divide going on. And I think that people are, you know, I think, like, the pro-Israel side calling the pro-questioning Israel side, like, anti-Semitic and all these things is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
What about America? Like, we all just want America first.
Yeah.
That is not a hateful position to take. So, Anyway.
No, I agree. I think it feels kind of hypocritical within the conservative side, because for so long, like, at least the last 4 or 5 years, the Republican side, conservative side, whichever, they were being attacked, being called racist or homophobic or whatever, right? All these negative terms. And as soon as there was, and I think for the most part, the conservative side has always been a party of free speech, you know, question things, be allowed to be open. You know, obviously each party has their problem, but but that's at least been kind of the motto, right? And then all of a sudden, certain things get questioned, and now it's not okay to talk about certain things. And I just think that's kind of hypocritical. I do think it's weird with Nick Fuentes, because he says a lot of stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
But he also has a lot of people who like him, who are young.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little weird not weird, but I don't think people should, I think they should stop and ask, why are young people liking what he's saying?
Yeah.
You know, but you make a good point. If you grew up during COVID, Black Lives Matter, like all that type of stuff, you know, the last 5, 6, 7 years have been nothing but, you know, people going at each other.
Yeah.
And so you do get very tribal and wanting to pick a side and, fight. So, yeah, I don't know. How do you kind of close that divide? Because you talk about wanting to be that kind of middle ground.
No, that's a great question. I mean, I will say first and foremost, and I hope that, like, I think one thing we cannot take for granted is the concept of like a pendulum swing. So to every progressive person out there that during COVID and even now, was pushing in your face that if you do not accept me for my identity, if you don't accept me or bow down to me and get on your knees and apologize for being white, like all of this stuff that happened because of COVID, not because of COVID, but like that came from that. You want to know what? Everyone's tired of that now. So now you've got someone like Nick Fuentes who isn't going to be kind at all, who isn't going to be, isn't going to beat around the bush at all, to the point where it could be considered hateful and it could be considered, dangerous language, right? But respectfully, liberals, you created that. Like you did that. So so part of me is like, I do think it's dangerous and we need to close that gap. But the other part of me is like, that's what happens. You've got this generation of these people looking up, saying slurs that like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel like slurs that before were absolute never say, people are becoming more okay saying it.
I feel like they weren't. No, I totally agree.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, like I've got I have younger siblings and they've got friends.
Yeah.
And I agree. They're words and slurs that not that like when we were going to high school or anything like that we knew what they were.
For sure.
There just was no motivation to say it.
Right.
Because it was just no one was doing it.
Right.
There was no reason to. And I asked my brother actually, because he's in that age group, and I was just curious, like, because like I had Instagram in high school, maybe Snapchat, but like TikTok wasn't really a thing until a year or two after. And I asked him, I said, like, why does your group say these words so much? Like, why do you guys make so many jokes about XYZ? And he was like, well, he said, we've been blasted with it on our phones and in society since we were like, freshmen in high school.
Yeah.
And we're all on TikTok and we get all of that all the time. Yeah. And kind of what you're saying, right? Like, they've been told that it's bad to be white. They've been told like all these negative things. Right. And so their way of coping with it is just to make fun of it.
Yeah.
And to kind of say it, make fun of it. One of the phrases they say is we're taking back our words. And I'm like, okay, maybe don't say that. Maybe hold on that phrase.
Yeah.
But, I think at least that was his explanation. And it kind of makes sense.
Well, and that's what happens when you censor speech.
Right.
Again, it's the pendulum. It's like if you're going to censor speech, now you're going to create a bunch of people who, once they find their voice, they're not going to be sensitive. And to be honest, I don't entirely blame them either. Like, I would probably do the same thing. It's probably like, screw you. Like, you've been silencing me for the last... And, the other side of the coin, too, is, like, what I would tell people that, whatever side you're on, like, whatever race you are, whatever religion you are, like, not everyone, people who have been oppressed have probably experienced that feeling of, I've been silenced, I've been oppressed, and once they get their voice, they kind of, like... get that emotion has built up. And so I'm not saying that anyone's been oppressed in Gen Z, but I'm just saying when we've been told for so long, you can't say this, you can't do that, you need to put a black square on your Instagram or else you're racist. It's like, what? And so now there's this pendulum. And so I think to answer your question about how do we address that, one part of me is like, I don't know, like on one hand I don't know, but the other hand I'm like, we do need voice by voice on a grassroots level, like person by person, piece by piece, for people to speak up and to just be examples of how to have respectful conversations. I feel like Charlie, I feel like his demeanor really shifted. His media content really shifted in the last year, I feel like. Before it was always just clowning on people, and I feel like I started to see more videos of him, YouTube videos that are captioned, "This is the best argument I've heard from a liberal," blah, blah, blah. Like, he was starting to create that kind of content, and I feel like we need to continue to move in that direction. And we just, I know there are people out there that care about it and don't want there to be divisiveness, and I just think that people need to have the courage to engage in hard conversations, that's exactly what Charlie was encouraging us to do. We need to start having conversations with people, even if you don't really want to talk about it. If you don't know or don't have an opinion about it, be willing to listen. I know it like makes you want to like rip your eyeballs out, or like your brain's gonna explode, but like it's so important. And so just piece by piece, I think we need to be more open. And honestly, I have seen people like ask questions and be like, oh, Lexi, like what is this? And I think that's really inspiring, and it's not gonna happen overnight, but I really hope that like Gen Z can, I mean, we're in the power seat. I feel like right now we are the next generation that is going to be running the country. And so I feel like it is pivotal. It is crucial that we step up now. We've seen, we have our parents who we can be like, okay, that's kind of crazy. Like we have a lot of like things to go off of, a lot of history, a lot of different things to go off of. And so it's like, and we've experienced a lot of it in COVID and the media and free speech being censored on TikTok and this and that. And so I think it's really important that we are the ones that kind of little by little make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think, having people who kind of like you're doing, just continuously spread a message of probably common sense, kind of sharing the middle ground and saying, let's not treat the other side like they're stupid. Because I think that's really easy. It's really easy to just hear something that you disagree with and then turn it off because you don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, no offense to the older generations, I think that's more of an older generation thing.
Yeah.
Because it was like you join your group, you're part of your tribe, and you just turn it off. But I don't think Gen Z is that way. At least it doesn't appear like it. I think they're more open to hearing things because that's what they've been getting their whole life is lots of
You need to be open.
Yeah. And so I think they're very open that way. I want to go back to something you mentioned with the your friends mentioning how the Conservative Party, what really has been conserved. Because in a lot of ways, even with Donald Trump, I don't think people realize how he's not really super Republican.
Right.
Like there's a lot of things that he's introduced that in a Republican conservative way that were very much Democratic, like Democrat ideology just like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I think it's good because I think it brought a lot of moderate Democrats over, where it's now kind of a middle ground party in some ways. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Because you mentioned you've had to think about that since that point being brought up.
Well, and I'll say like my thoughts first kind of went to like social issues and just like gay marriage and gender identity and all like that. Those are the kind of things that I was like, oh wow, like even in our education and even in some, if conservatives believe in smaller government and less government overreach and all those things, like I do think that everyone does perceive Donald Trump as like this extreme like right-wing person because of some of the language he like has used. But that's what politicians do. You have to, and that's why it's really important, I think, for people getting involved in politics to look at the policies, because like you said, it's like he did bring over a lot of Democrats. He probably brought over the ones that were more engaged and more following what was going on. And so I think, again, I asked my friend, I was like, if we do, like, let's say we find a leader that is like a really strong moderate and like really good at bringing both sides together, like in your eyes, like, is that not possible? And he was like, honestly, no. He was like, there is always going to be this push and pull between the parties. And if we do not fight for strong conservative values, I mean, we already are, and they're still slipping away. And so, I personally think that it's okay to be open-minded, and it's okay, I think progressive has been like coined as like a negative term.
Sure.
And there are a lot of things, again, for me, it all goes back to the Constitution. Anything beyond that, and even like state constitutions. So it's like, if I live in a state and we want to uphold this constitution in my state, like, to me, those are my values. Like, I feel like that should be everyone's values, whether you're conservative, liberal, and unfortunately a lot of liberals who are more progressive thinking, like, don't maybe feel that way about the Constitution.
Sure.
For me, that's what I always fall back on is the Constitution and protecting that and defending that, because once we start to mess with that, that's when it's like, well, like what kind of country are we gonna, like where's our country gonna go if we can't even like stick to our Constitution? So yeah, I don't know if that really like answered what you're asking, but I think that the best, we just need to be listening, we need to be involved, we need to understand the difference between what a candidate campaigns on and how they actually govern, because it's different. It just is.
Totally.
But that being said, when you elect somebody and you vote for somebody, you are giving them your trust to make decisions on your behalf. So it doesn't mean like, okay, well, I voted for this person, so they need to do what I say when I tell them to do it. It's like, no, you've elected them. You've given them your trust to make decisions for the country or for the state or for the city. And so I think for a lot of people, they trust Donald Trump to make those decisions. I think that right now, a lot of people are kind of like feeling betrayed by Donald Trump. So
Let me ask you how so. Like, I'm curious how what's your thoughts on
yeah,
that?
I think so. I'll just give you one example that is like more recent, but I can't even remember the exact details. But my friend sent me a clip of him basically saying that we don't have enough talent here in America, so we need to. He was changing something. He had basically changed his position on like a work visa or a student visa or something, because I think at one point he had halted everything.
Right.
And I think he, in an interview, he's like, well, we don't have enough talent here and we need to bring the best and the brightest. And my friend and a lot of my friends were like very offended and like hurt because, what happened. I have a lot of friends, and I'll be honest, with my work, a lot of what I do focuses on Utah politics because that's the state that I live in. But so I still have a lot that I need to sort of like catch up on with national politics. But there is this like divide of people that are sticking by Donald Trump's side and the divide of people that are like, what happened to America first? Like you said that you wanted to put America first, and it doesn't feel like it. I think especially the Israel stuff, I think a lot of the Epstein stuff like had a lot of people questioning, because respectfully, like Congress like was so bipolar with that. Like they 1 minute were trying to silence everything, and then like that it just blew through Congress after Trump said he was going to sign it. Like there's just a lot of, I think, mistrust. A
lot of weird things.
And so I think people kind of banked on Trump and counted on him to be the transparent one. And now I think, especially with, all the rhetoric you're hearing online about AIPAC and Israel, it's like, okay, what's going on here? And then people aren't getting answers, so they're questioning. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's just a lot of weird. It's a weird time. It's a weird time to be alive. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. And the Epstein thing's weird as well, because he kind of ran on exposing that and laying that out.
Right.
And then put all this new administration in, and all these people who have, at least for the past 4 or 5 years, been, kind of seen as truth seekers for the party.
Yeah.
And then it was like it all kind of got gunked up. And there was a lot of like political dancing and hiding this and that, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Even the Israel stuff too, like that whole weird kind of war that we got into, and then it was over really quickly, and then I could see where people are kind of losing their faith a little bit in what he's trying to accomplish. I think there's been a lot of things he's done well, but there's, and then who just resigned? Marjorie Taylor Greene, is that what?
Who just saw that.
Yeah, she just resigned, and everyone's up in arms about that.
I know.
Which I really don't know what the reasoning was on that at all. Other than like she didn't have his support anymore, I think is what it was.
Yeah, I really don't know either. X is like the place to be, and it is the place I am least familiar with. So I need to get on that, but I don't know. Yeah,
it's messy. X has got just a lot of. I think there's a lot of bots on it. Well, I think they're trying to clean it up.
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
But they seem to be. That's the hard part too. Is on socials, it's like everybody's always. Like you don't know if that's a real like person in the comments or if it's just a bot dropping a chat and trying to stir up problems.
I know. I am low key. I have a brother that like loves AI and technology and stuff, and we were talking about it last night because we're like low key in 100 years, like is the world gonna be run by robots? Like what? Like he literally just bought a robot that is like gonna I'm exposing him. I'm gonna like do his laundry and like clean
Really?
his dishes. Yeah. I'm like,
Is it like one of
bruh.
those Tesla robots or
I
something?
think so,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like it just came out, but yeah, I'm like, it's just terrifying. What you? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's
Crazy.
it's so hard to know with the AI stuff because it's powerful. It does a lot of good things,
Right.
but then people are freaked out thinking that's going to take all these people's jobs and
know.
replace people.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. I mean, it may be actually a great help to people, but I think it's like, is it well monitored? That's the question.
I'm honestly, my brother, he was saying like, we might get to a point where like working's optional and blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, who would opt to work if they
Yeah.
didn't have to? And second of all, I only see this going one way, and the tech industry just being a monopoly and running the world. And so they have all them like who's gonna you're just gonna give robots out to people for free?
Right.
Like
Yeah, there's always a catch, right?
I don't. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But I'm nervous for what's coming. So
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, I think there's got to be some sort of guardrails of some sorts to monitor it at the very least,
yeah,
But it's moving so fast. That's the problem.
It is.
It's moving so fast. I don't think. I mean, the government's not going to be able to keep up with it.
no. Well, even ChatGPT, like a lot of. I mean, it's taken what like 2 years for us to really kind of get our feet on the ground. Like it
Yeah.
kind of came out of nowhere, and universities and high schools like didn't really have policies in place for AI.
Right.
Like, I still don't think we've like fully figured out compliance things with AI, and
Right.
it's crazy.
No, yeah, not at all. I think I was listening to a podcast. I think it was with Elon Musk on, and he was talking about AI. But he started Grok, the X version of AI or ChatGPT or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said he did it because when he was working for ChatGPT, which he was involved with originally, they kind of stopped doing. They were acting in a way that he didn't feel like was right, and they weren't really creating an AI that was truth seeking.
Interesting.
And that's at least to his claim. He said that if you look into ChatGPT or you ask it questions, there's a lot of woke mentality trained into the AI.
Interesting.
And so that's why he started Grok, was to train an AI that was primarily truth seeking. And I don't know if that's true. That's just what he said.
I hope,
it could
yeah,
be
that'd be
a
awesome.
complete lie. Tell me a little more about AFP, because I obviously you talked a little bit about your political journey.
Yeah.
It sounds like AFP is kind of a grassroots organization that's trying to help do exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're pretty hands-on.
Yeah, so Americans for Prosperity, it is a national organization, and their state chapters. I believe there's one here in Arizona, actually.
Yeah.
But I work for, AFP Utah, the Utah chapter, and like you said, we're a grassroots organization, and we believe the best way to move the needle on policy issues is to empower the people to be part of the process. And so we, you hear about lobbyists, and essentially we're working with people to be the change, rather than having a lobbyist or someone go and try to negotiate certain policy things.
Right.
We want to empower people to take that power to use their voice and to be, like I said, part of the process in getting policy that they believe in passed. And so we are a nonpartisan nonprofit, but we have very libertarian values, and we are freedom oriented, and so we want people to have more power. And so every state has different policy priorities that they focus on each year, and every state government too operates differently with their legislative session. So some people have it year round, some people do it every other year. Utah does it every year for 7 weeks in January to March. And so we're about to start our legislative session, where all the legislators are going to come together and start, making state policy. And so we have 3 areas that we're focusing on, and we are, meeting with volunteers, meeting with people that want to be part of the process, and we train and educate them on how to communicate with their legislators. We'll bring people up during session. You can even make public comment in a committee meeting about a policy if you're like, I really don't support this, or if you're like, I really support this because this directly impacts my family. We're just giving people the opportunity and helping them see how they can be part of the process.
Yeah.
So,
How do you guys do that? Is it through going out and signing people up? Are they part of a community chat, or how does that work?
Yeah, great question. So we essentially are community gatherers, and so we host our own events. We'll we'll host events, we'll invite people to come, but we are a part of a lot of other communities as well. So there's a lot of different, organizations you can be part of, a lot of different great groups, especially in Utah. It's a very community-centered state, and so we'll go to, the Salt Lake Republican Women's, monthly meeting, and we meet people that way. I personally have worked a lot with like the college Republicans, and so we just kind of meet with these other groups, and there's another group called Libertas. They're a policy advocacy group as well, and so we just meet with we go to different events and just kind of tell people about what we do. We go to community events, and we just meet people in our backyard, in our in our areas that express interest in wanting to be part of it or already are, and we just help kind of build them up to be strong, engaged, informed citizens that are activated and will be part of that process. So we table at events. We'll go to, we went to St. George for a Charlie Kirk memorial, and we had a booth there and met a lot of great people there, people that are super excited about being involved. We also do like your classic grassroots door-to-door knocking, canvassing, and like phone banks. So we'll call out to voters and get their opinions on, hey, how do you feel about these issues? We'll encourage people to, reach out to if there's a policy that we like really want passed or something, or that we believe will benefit the people, we will ask, hey, leave a voicemail to your congressman or leave a voicemail to your legislator. This is really important for you because you deserve more freedom, and so that's kind of like what we do on a general overview. But
what would you say is because it's always neat working kind of right in the mix of it, right? Being with the people directly. Sometimes you're doing stuff where maybe you're putting it out there online or whatever, so you're one step removed, right? What's been the coolest thing about working in those like very just down in the trenches, one might say?
No, I will say, like, the coolest part is you really see how different people live their lives, and you really see how much people care about things.
Interesting.
I think, when you're kind of far removed, it feels like nobody cares.
Right.
And it's like no one wants to fight for a country, but then you go meet these people that are like actually really involved, and they really care, and they have these experiences. Like, that's what's so crazy is you have someone who is so convicted about something, and then you get to know them and you hear their story, and you're like, oh, so okay, I understand now. Like, that's, and so that's probably the coolest part. And then I just think, just seeing the light in their eyes when they like get to be part of it. I remember my first time going to the state capitol and being in, the energy is just amazing. And I think it's something that feels out of reach for a lot of people. It feels like a world away, like just it's too fancy, it's too this, it's too that. And so to see people realize that they actually can, like they love it, they really do. So
that is cool. It's almost like you're kind of introducing them, you're making them feel like they actually are part of their government.
Absolutely.
Which is funny because that's the whole point of government. It's supposed to be for the people, but I think it does feel very, very distant in a lot of ways, almost like how can I really make a difference type feeling. So that's cool. That's really neat. I'm curious. So you talked about Charlie Kirk a little bit, and I know you were at the event where he was assassinated. And even prior to, you were posting quite a bit about you're going to that event and wanting to ask questions and be a part of that. And I don't know if you even got to ask your questions or not, but tell me a little bit about that, because I remember that day watching it. Obviously, I wasn't there, but it was all over X and social media, and it was very, it almost felt unreal. You watch that video back, and it was like, that can't be real. That's got to be AI, or that's got to be fake. And then you found out it was, and it was like, whoa. And that, I think, for a lot of people was a very dark moment, a very strange and just out of body moment. But also, it was weird to see the reactions of people. And I think people going a lot of love, but also on the other direction, a lot of hate. So you were there, and I want to hear your experience. No,
thank you for asking. It was, I was so excited for that day because kind of like what I said earlier, I think it's sometimes we put too much energy questioning the other side. Rather than challenging our own ideas and challenging our own team members, right? And so, I was super excited to ask Charlie a couple questions. I had a lot of respect for him, and I felt like, I spent a couple weeks trying to find flaws in his arguments, and I really, really couldn't. And it was a really cool experience because it kind of strengthened my belief system a little bit. But I found an area that I wanted to ask him about, and so I was super excited to go ask him. And that day, I will say, as dark as it was, I try to think about the beautiful moments that I did experience when I was in line. I met several different people, and we're all in line, so of course they're automatically assuming that I don't like Charlie, or that
Right.
I'm a Democrat or something.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to ask some of these people in line their questions, and to just like kind of listen to them, even though sometimes it was like I met this one girl and she was just going off about it, but like it wasn't towards me. She, again, because in her brain, I think she just assumed that we were on the same page. And so it was just really cool to get to kind of interact with people that I probably have a lot of disagreements, with. And so that was really cool. It was cool to see a lot of people, even after the event, come together. And it was like, it didn't matter, I remember after it happened, everyone fleeing the what do you call it? The grass area. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, whatever.
It's not an arena, but
yeah, something like that. Amphitheater thing.
Amphitheater. There
whatever.
you go. That's the word. Yes.
They were fleeing and going in the building, and it was just like I had gotten separated from my friends, and you just like see, it's really dark, but also, beautiful to see strangers hugging strangers, and we're all in this together, kind of. And so for me, it's like I really had to focus on that, and even after, the next day and that night, even, just seeing people come together and turning to God, really, like, was the coolest thing for me. I went to the temple that night at like 11 p.m. or midnight, and it was packed with cars and people outside, and so it was a really, really, really sad day. And to be honest, it still feels like kind of surreal. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean I was there? But I think, I just think that there's a lot of hate in the world, and I think that the reactions, as messed up as I think a lot of them were, I think one thing our world, as people, as humans, we struggle with is putting ourselves in someone else's shoes and truly trying to understand where they're coming from. And so, I mean, there are people, and although I completely disagree, I think there are people that felt so strongly that Charlie was evil, that he spread hate. They were so convinced of that they felt like celebrating when he was gone. And for I was so upset, and I still am very disturbed by that. But I think for people that say like, how could people be, I don't know, I think that they just are so convinced that person was creating violence in the world. And so on one hand, it's like, when you put it that way, I think it's easier to digest why someone would react so horribly.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to justify anything at all. It's completely wrong and everything. But I think that for a lot of people that are so disturbed by those reactions, I think that they would find a lot more peace if they can frame it that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
But I think at the end of the day, like, hurt, I love the phrase, it's a sad phrase, but, well, two phrases I love. Just simply, hurt people hurt people. And so I think we need to remember that. And, we can focus on pointing fingers, and we can focus on, you're a disturbed person for celebrating someone's death. And to be honest, like, for the costumes and things, I do think that's, like, there is no, like, to me, explanation for that, to make to mock something and to laugh at something. I think it's one thing to feel like a violent person is gone and you feel safe now. That's one thing. But to make light of a situation that was traumatic for a lot of people, not just the family and the friends associated, like, I'm not saying we shouldn't call out evil and wrongful behavior, because we absolutely should. But that's kind of like when people were, feeling relieved of him passing, like, it's, to me, I don't understand it, and I think it's horrible, but I think that's where it comes from for a lot of people. And then, I don't know. I think that, hurt people hurt people, and we Like, we can't control what other people do. We can't control how other people react. We can only control how we react and how we treat them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if somebody, my whole point in saying all this is, like, if someone does something that, like, deeply disturbs you or angers you, to me, it's like we give them more power, and we give Satan or whoever more power when we give into those angry feelings. And so for me, it's like, how can we really find inner peace? And so, and then the other phrase that I love is, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And so I think for, again, there was a variety of reactions, and I think that as much, like, I cannot say as much as I was saddened and frustrated and heartbroken and disturbed by people celebrating his death, and I think that was wrong. It's not going to do anybody, it's not going to bring Charlie back to, like, hate them and to destroy them on social media, right? I know that's what we want to do, but it's like, what can we do to move forward so that something like this doesn't happen again? What can we do to bridge build with our peers so that they're not perceiving someone like Charlie as violent again, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, that was a lot of thoughts, but yeah.
No, I appreciate you saying that. I think it's good because, I think it's really, I think people in general, we struggle to take ourselves out of the equation, right? We it's hard to get ourselves out of the way. And so people, that's a good quote, because I think you're right. People don't, it's people's pain, and it's a better reflection of them and where they're at in their life than anything else, right?
Totally.
That they would do that or think that. And I think it's also it kind of shows us where we're at as a society, in the sense that there's a lot of echo chambers, a lot of these groups where, because even like the costumes, for example, I can only imagine that occurs because somebody is in an echo chamber where they think it's okay.
Totally.
And they're being celebrated by a select group for doing so.
Totally.
And so you think, oh, this is, I'm getting rewarded for this thought or this behavior that's not appropriate, right? Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the world sees it, and it's like, okay, obviously that's not.
Right.
But,
it's insane.
But, I think if people were to step outside of that echo chamber and themselves a little bit, they would realize, okay, there's like, these are people, right? Like you're saying, and they have lives, and we're a lot more similar than we are different.
Totally.
What's it like? Because I can only imagine being there and experiencing it firsthand. But what's it like now, especially where it's really kind of an unclosed loop? Mm-hmm. There really, no one really knows exactly what happened and transpired that day. We only know kind of the brief moment. Mm-hmm. But I can imagine as someone who's there and was kind of personally vested in the experience, it's got to be rough being like, I want closure to something that happened. I want to know, like, okay, this is what occurred. This is what happened. This is, justice will be served or whatever. So how do you feel about that? Because I know that's a huge thing right now.
Yeah, no, that is. And I honestly was very, like, into the Candace Owen stuff right there at the beginning. I absolutely would love to know what actually happened. And I hear a lot of different things. I hear, when I was down in St. George, I was hearing some of the community members say, oh, well, he said he didn't do it. He said he didn't do it. Like, and people that, like, know these families, right? And so it's like being in Utah and living there. Yeah, you hear a bunch of things, and then you hear all the Candace Owens stuff, and it's like, on one hand, I think she can be a little crazy, and then on the other hand, I think sometimes she makes some very fair points, and she draws some very, believable theories. And so, I honestly, to be completely honest with you, like, even now, I'm not really sure where I'm at with, like, Candace Owens, because I'm like, I was, like, so, like, following her, and then I was so, like, she's crazy. And now it's like I see and hear more and more pieces, like, randomly on Instagram, and I'm like, okay, like, that is kind of weird. Like, I do think that's weird, and I think that, so I really don't even know, like, at this point what to even do and how to even get answers, because I don't really think that part of me is like, we're dealing with government and corruption. Like, will we ever have answers? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I think, for me, I just have to, like, kind of ignore the things that I can't have any control over, because
Sure.
right after the assassination, like, it's all I consumed. And it was like I became super obsessive with politics. I was posting a lot more than I ever had, and I was every day, like, watching Candace. I would set an alarm for her show. Like, I was very in the thick of it, and it wasn't helping me to, like, move on or cope. I think what helped me was just to, like, be around people and, like, be around my friends, and to, like, just, you know, be in uplifting environments. And so, as much as I want closure and I would love to know what actually happened, like, I don't want to I'm not going to let it, like, bring me down, because, like, there's nothing I can really do at this point. So, you just try to, focus on the good things and focus on the things you can, like, control and, like, be part of. And I think that starts with your own actions and how you treat people. So,
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's tough, because it's like you want to be able to close some of those loops. You want to be able to feel like the truth is there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the double-edged sword, it feels like, because we're in a time where, we have so much information, access to information, and it would be like that whole event that took place. There were so many cameras, there were so many things that we saw, but at the same time, because there's so much information, it's almost really easy to get lost in it, or even to a point of, like, it's really easy for the information to be corrupted in some way.
Totally.
Where there's bits and pieces that are true, maybe there isn't some value to it.
Yeah.
And then you're just getting blown over by so much that you finally go, I don't know what to believe anymore, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems like a really tough thing. And I guess the Charlie Kirk's just one example, but I feel like that's just in general, it's almost becoming really hard to know what is true. At least when it comes to the internet and information.
Absolutely.
Which
is why I think people have an aversion to politics, because it's just, like, so frustrating. But that's why I think I'm so grateful for my job, because our whole thing is, like, national politics, like, it's who the heck knows, but, like, you have more power in your state and in your local governments. You can actually meet these people and talk to them and vet them and be part of that. Like, it's so much closer to home. It's so much more accessible, and it is more impactful because it affects your life more than the national politics going on anyway. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think people, the national stuff gets so much coverage, it's hard not to get tied in. But that's probably where you feel the furthest away, right? Mm-hmm. And then people feel like it's just an impossible battle. Totally. There's no point in even jumping in. But there probably is a lot you can do at the state level.
Totally.
Just being involved. You talked about after the Charlie Kirk but what occurred. People going to the temple, and you going to the temple, and a lot of people there. And it seems like a lot of people turned to faith right after, right? Kind of, and it kind of makes sense, right? You go back to some of those foundations where, there's real truth, I guess the right way to put it. So tell me what that was like. Did there seem to be a lot of religious kind of coming together after that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, to be honest, that week was a pretty dark week altogether. If you remember, there was that, the shooting in Michigan at the LDS church.
Oh, that's right.
And then our prophet, President Nelson, also passed away that weekend. And so it was just like a crazy week.
Yeah.
I don't know who.
And General Conference.
September. Then it was General Conference the next weekend. Yeah. So I don't know who made September so angry, but that was just a crazy time. And I think, especially after, I don't know if it was after the Michigan shooting or if it was before, but I think there were some people on social media kind of talking hatefully about Mormons and about what we believe, and then the Michigan thing happened, and I think that sparked another conversation of, like, we need to stop fighting, like, we just need to come together, and, like, we need to find the common ground that we all have. And so I think, I definitely did see people come together and different religions. I just went to a concert a week ago, at UVU, actually. It was with the church. I can't remember the name of the church, like Crusades or something.
Okay. Yeah.
And they had Phil Wickham and Chris Tomlin come perform, two
very
Christian
cool.
artists,
Yeah.
and there was a pastor that gave a message, and I guarantee half the room was at least Mormons. Like,
Sure.
I mean, me and my friends, obviously, like, we are, and so it was just really cool to, like, just come together and, like, all turn to, you know, turn to something that brings us hope. And I feel like that's the only thing you can really do when tragedy strikes, is just to turn to the things that bring you hope and that bring you peace.
Yeah.
And that might be a different religion. It might even be a different person. Like, I think for a lot of us, it is Jesus Christ. But, you know, whatever that is for you, like, I think there's something so beautiful in finding peace. And I believe that, you know, ultimate true peace and joy comes from Jesus Christ. And so I think even if someone calls it something different, like, to me, that's what it is. And so I think it's beautiful that even if you don't really know what that is called, or you don't know what to call it, or where it's coming from, like, I think it's beautiful that we're all coming together and we're uniting on something so positive and so light. After something so horrible happens. So,
right. Yeah. I know. I think people get hung up on, you know, what the name of the church is and this and that, you know, what organization here and there. And there are some differences between the different religions for sure. But I think you're right. I think people are in general looking for good. They're looking for peace in their life. They're looking for, you know, what's the meaning of life, truth in their life, whatever you want to call it. And that's something, like, people can come together no matter what the religion is. I'm curious because, you know, living in Provo, Orem area, right? Yeah. Pretty crazy place to live, especially now, I think, just off the standpoint that the church as a whole and BYU, that whole community, getting a lot of media attention on a regular basis. I think that's partially from influencers who are pro-church.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of those. And then also a lot of negative, like, anti-church media as well. So what's the dynamics like living in that area? And of course, you know, then we've got, like, the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and, like, all these things that are now coming out. And it seems like, and I don't know, maybe that's just what I've noticed, but it seems like there's a lot of pro-Christian content coming out now, but there seems to be a lot of anti our faith, you know, the church media coming out at the same time. So I don't know, you that's kind of a unique place to live.
No,
it's a bit of a bubble in some ways. So I'm curious to hear what it's like.
Yeah, no, it definitely is an interesting place to live. I think there's pros and cons in any sort of extreme, you know, where a majority religion exists. I think echo chambers happen anywhere, even in a religion. And so, living in a state that is so highly concentrated with members of the church, like, you absolutely experience things that are maybe different than you would anywhere else. I think one thing that, as I'm getting older, that I'm realizing is that that people, first, people want to feel heard and they want to feel validated in their actions.
Right.
So I think a lot of these content creators that are, like, anti-Mormon coming out, it's like they clearly feel a need to justify and explain why they've chosen the path that they've chosen.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that we're, like, missing the mark. I think, you know, to me, the gospel, it's very black and white for me. Like, the gospel is not the same as the church. Like, the culture of the church is not the gospel. The gospel is perfect. The church is run by imperfect people.
Right.
And so when people have, like, bad experiences with the church or this and that, and then they, you know, turn away from Jesus Christ over it, like, that, to me, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I think some people think they're doing an honest thing by, like, bringing people to, like, light and, like, helping them see the truth or whatever. And to me, I'm like, people just need to, like, do their own thing and, like, live their own life and, like, glorify Jesus in all that you do. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, people are complex. Like, we are complex beings and we all have different experiences. Thank heavens that, you know, Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ know that, because we're all going to be judged according to our, you know, individual circumstances. But I think it is just very interesting because it's like, why, I don't understand why people care so much. I think sometimes it comes from, like, a place of of resentment a little bit.
Yeah.
Because some people, live in the church and live happy, beautiful lives and don't, question or don't feel the need to be rebellious, or they don't feel the need to do all this stuff. And I think for the people whose personalities are more that way, I'm sure there's maybe some resentment there, some internal just like frustration that they felt just different. And I think their way of coping is to make content that is anti. Again, I think it's all about just like feeling validated. It's about feeling justified, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know why we have to demonize. And again, it goes back to my point. It's like, if people are so convinced that something is evil and spreading hate, like, that's where they're at. That's what they think.
Right.
So they think they're doing something honest and noble. And so for me, that's kind of where I have to go mentally when I get really annoyed at freaking Girls Camp Pod, who I just cannot stand her. But it's like, you know what, Lexi, like she, with her experiences and what she's been through, like, she feels like she's doing an honest thing. And
I've literally never seen this. Is it a podcast?
Yes.
Who?
Can't stand her.
Let me look this up. I gotta look up this group while you keep going, though.
Anyway, and so I'm just like, you know what? Like, that's for God to deal with. That's not for me to worry about. It's hard because it's like, people, like I said, I think it's really easy to get lost in like yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
It's just her mission to like just destroy and defamation, like whatever verb of that word is.
Exploring life and spirituality after Mormonism.
It's like, cool. Like, what? Sorry. See, that's not kind of me. That's not kind of me to be like, why are you making that your entire personality? And I have to like check myself because I'm like, okay. But, but I think at the end of the day, it's like, we get so wrapped up in like church culture and this and that. And like, it's like, oh my gosh, like, it's because you live in freaking Utah. Like,
yeah.
Like, guess what? Like, that's not, like, we are missing the mark here. And I think that we all have room to grow. And my experience personally, just being in Utah, is I think sometimes we do get caught up in the going to church. We get caught up in the all the like little things, that we like forget the whole center of this is Jesus Christ.
Right.
And so I think for people that have had bad experiences with Mormonism, or that have had like this and that, it's like, okay, I don't know who raised you. I don't know who was your young woman's leader, but like that was never the point. Like, the point is that you have a Savior who loves you and died for you. And because he loves you, he wants to do everything that he can to help you return to him. And part of the protection, like one of the protections that we have for that, are covenants, and it's a beautiful thing.
Right.
And commandments are protection. Like, they are not these things to be weaponized to like make you feel guilty or make you feel bad. That's not what it's about. It's all just for protection and for you to return to live with your Heavenly Father and your Savior. And so it's like, when people, and for me, it's like for whatever reason, like, people can't leave Christians alone, or they can leave Christians alone, but they can't leave Mormons alone. And I don't really know why. I mean, my self is, of course, going to say, like, oh, it's because we're the true church. And so they're coming after us harder because Satan doesn't want them to have, access and power to these blessings, because he knows it'll change their lives. But yeah, it is a very interesting thing why Christians are not as under attack as much as Mormons are.
Right.
And I think that all of us can be better. I think that every Christian can be better, and I think that all of us fall short of being Christians sometimes. When you are hating on a different religion, if you're a Christian and you're Protestant or a Catholic, and you're hating on Mormon or hating on this because of this and that, it's like I don't think that's very Christian of you. And I would say the same thing for Mormons. Like one thing I love about our religion is that we celebrate interfaith.
Yeah.
We do a lot of interfaith things, because at the end of the day, it's not like, oh, my religion's better than yours. Like, that's not, like, and I don't know, like, obviously the scriptures say what they say, but to me, it's like, you worship Jesus Christ, I worship Jesus Christ, and maybe you're missing some of the pieces of the puzzle, but you're still trying to be a good person. You're still trying to follow the Savior, and that's great and amazing. So I don't know why people can't kind of give Mormons the same respect. I really don't know why. I think it's honestly, if anything, just become a trend to do that. Like at the BYU versus, like, I think Barstool Cincinnati like made a post
yeah.
about applying or apologizing to BYU for their fans saying F the Mormons, and
It's like a thing now.
It's like a thing. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you're so cool. It's like, okay, any publicity is good publicity. So
Do you know what's crazy about that though? So I was watching something and it was saying that the church, I think BYU specifically, or the church, or it's all the same basically, donated like thousands of pounds of food to the school to basically support their students that were going hungry or whatever. And so it is, it's hard to tell. It's like, is it just a thing now to make fun of Mormons and the church? There's probably something to that. And sports, there's trash talking, we get it, but like you're attacking a whole group of like religious people, you're not like, it'd be one thing to say FBYU or
right.
Whatever, right? I'm not saying that's appropriate either, but
right.
But yeah, to attack like a religious group, that just is, it's like saying F Christians. It's like, okay, who's saying that?
No, literally. And I think it just, to me, it goes to show like clearly we're doing like something right if people hate us that much. Like clearly, like it's different. If anything, it's different if we are if we're under attack specifically.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I it's hard too because I agree. I think a lot of people, there was an incident that occurred or they had a bad experience with a church member, and I get it. Like I used to work for the church. It was very interesting. There's a lot of good that they do, but at the same time, there's a lot of people in there who are trying to do their best and they fall short.
Totally.
Because that's how people are, and we have our own personal lives that we're living, and we get greedy sometimes, and we want to get X, Y, Z, or we want that promotion. And I think the church tries really hard to not promote those type of ideas, but we're people. People are people. Totally. But yeah, I think people have a bad experience there, and then they try to find something to attach to it to point out why their experience was warranting them leaving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just think that, again, for me, it's like God knows our heart. He knows the things we've gone through. And so to me, it's like I don't even, like it doesn't keep me up at night thinking about people who, had a really bad experience and left the church. Like to me, it's like, you know what? Yeah, we have imperfect people, and there's people that do stupid stuff in any church. And I'm someone that hasn't experienced that, and I'm grateful and I'm good. And, for people that have, like God, the grace is different. Grace is going to look different for all of us. And so it's like, I feel like if that's like the root of your testimony, like then you're going to be fine. So
totally. Do you feel like the church has been tapping into the influencer group lately? I think the answer is yes, based on what I've seen. Which I'm not totally against. I think they see an opportunity to engage young people. I don't know any specifics of what they are doing, but
my understanding, I could be so wrong, but my understanding was that they basically, so I have been a paid actor in a promo video for the church before.
Okay,
so I like applied and I like got it, and it was literally like I've never done acting or anything. I just like saw it and I was like, this would be lit.
What were you doing?
I was like a sister missionary in like a video. It was like for their Easter stuff, and I got paid like.
Okay, actress.
No, I
put that on the list.
Literally, it's the only thing I did, and I got paid like a few $100s for it. Like it was awesome, and I still get like random like emails from like the church being like, oh like acting opportunity, blah 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 blah. And so one of the things that I've seen before is we're looking for people to share their testimony, like selfie style video, share your testimony. And so I don't even know if this is like the right, if UKG is like the right like acronym.
UGC.
UGC.
Yeah. User generated content or something.
There you go. Yes, UGC. Where basically you're not being paid to promote it on your personal social media. Okay. You're just paid to create the content, and then you basically hand it over to the business or organization so that they can use it on their socials.
Right.
And so that's what that essentially was, is my understanding, is like they, looking for people to share their testimony so that the church can now use that for their social media content. Right. I'm not like in a ad partnership with the church.
Yeah.
If I happened to be an influencer and had name ID and face ID and they used my content, Like, that was my decision. Like, it's not like a paid partnership. So,
Right.
and then that's one thing. And then I will say, as far as like the church kind of like leaning into influencers, I feel like they have to, because you've got Secret Lives of Mormon Wives,
Totally.
and so I think, I don't honestly know what their, like, I have had friends go to like conferences, like some, figures, some Instagram like influencers that have like a podcast or are just like, well, I have seen them like be invited to like a media conference or something,
Right.
like a paid like content creation expo or whatever. And so I personally like think that's great because they're, utilizing their members who are already like sharing their messages, and they're working with them and partnering with them to do, something that is meant to, spread Jesus Christ, to spread his message. And I think when you have influencers that are doing the opposite, it's like you have to defend yourself,
Right,
know. And so when
right.
you've got Girls Camp Pod or Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, like, you've got this whole world of people that like think they know what Mormons are like because of the TV show, and it's like, that is not like, we love those people and we're so happy that they love their
Yeah.
Savior, but
You're not a swinger?
that's not
Oh,
like
wow.
those are not things that our church promotes
Oh.
at all. And so, and it's not how we encourage members to live either. And so I
Right.
think that they kind of have to like fight fire with fire a little bit there. So
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this video. I was on TikTok the other day. It was this kind of like curly haired guy with a mustache, and he was talking about he worked for the church. It was like a series thing. I don't know if you've seen it. It kind of went viral. But he was talking about how he worked for the church and his experience with it and the finances or whatever. And I was watching that because his point, I don't want to give him credit because I don't want people looking him up and watching it because it wasn't really that great. But his point was, he was saying that the church has tons of money, which they do. And he was there to kind of help create a good narrative around why the church has this much money and what's the reasoning for it. And he got employed by the church to do so. And he kind of, I don't know his reasoning, but he lost his testimony along the way. And one of the reasons being that he felt like the church wasn't using its funds properly, or it wasn't being put to good purposes or whatever.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I thought was interesting, because I run a nonprofit. It's not the size of the church. Let's just start there. But I think people forget that, like, a nonprofit is still supposed to make money.
Yeah,
like
it is.
Yeah, you're right in the middle of it,
Yeah.
right? And if there ain't no money, it ain't gonna grow. Like, you have to have it to spread the message and the good that you're doing. That's why there's donors. That's why there's donations. That's
Totally.
why there's tax write-offs. And also, every nonprofit is allowed to have for-profit businesses they're a part of. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a legal thing. So I think people get really hung up on that oftentimes. But they don't realize that, like, the church is utilizing funds to help spread the message, and they have members that support it, and that's why they have lots of funds.
Right. Yeah.
But none of us are forced to, like, pay our tithing or
No.
anything like that.
No.
It's all choice.
It's all choice. If you don't, I could go on about that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people try to make the church seem like like it's a cult, or people are forced into things, and there's, like, I don't have to go to church. No one's going to force me. I don't have to, like...
I don't have to not drink coffee.
Right.
I could drink coffee. I won't be able to go inside the temple, but I want to go inside the temple, so I'm going to choose to not drink coffee.
Right. And there's lots of people, too, and not that I'm promoting this, but there's lots of people, too, that make choices that are probably not temple-worthy choices, and they still go in the temple.
Yeah.
Because they have a reason or justification or one or the other. And there's nobody stopping them because the Lord, like... We believe that God knows, and He allows for our agency, and it's up to Him.
Yeah.
So, I think you put it really well. It's like, we have to be understanding that people, like, this, your relationship with God is your relationship with God, and sometimes we as people try to get in the middle of that. And it's like, like, people just need to be understanding of the experience.
Yeah, and just you know yourself. God knows you. He knows what you're capable of. You know what you're capable of. Like, you can't lie to God about your intentions, about your heart, about anything. And so it's like, if you understand something more than someone else does, then you're probably going to be held more accountable for that.
Yeah.
And I think, there are a lot of things in the church that people leave the church over. And I am just so grateful for my testimony of the temple and of my covenants, because for me, that's all I need. Because if I have a testimony of that, I know it's right. I know it's right. And everything else is run by imperfect people doing imperfect things, and God will hold them accountable someday. But like, that's not my burden to carry. I'm responsible for myself and for my actions and for my covenants and my relationship with God. And so, and obviously in hopes that I can, you know, share with people how it's blessed my life and how much happiness and joy I experience because of it. Because of course I want my friends and family to experience that too. Like, why would I have this amazing thing and this amazing blessing and not want to share that with people?
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like, it's your choice and you're only responsible for your choices. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, couldn't agree anymore. I think you said it perfectly. I gotta ask. So Lena and Co. Is that, am I pronouncing that? Lena
And Co.
Okay. So what's up with that? Because you guys, you and Abby, right?
Abby, yeah.
You guys started that, and then, I'm just curious, like, kind of entrepreneurial, you know, started your own business. Break that down for me.
Yeah, so I think kind of back to what I was saying in the beginning of this, like, Abby and I have so many side quests. I think we're just both very ambitious girls. We've always been that way, and we have a lot of dreams. And so when we became best friends when we were 14, and we always wanted to start a podcast together. And then by the time we were living together in college, like, we were just kind of like, there's, like, everyone's doing this. Like, there's nothing that we could, like, we've missed our chance, basically. And so we still wanted to do something together, and I think she, is definitely more entrepreneurial minded than I am. I can't really say that word very well. I was never, like, super into, like, the entrepreneurship stuff, but I was, like, open to it. And then, so we were just like, let's do it. Let's try something. And we both were very passionate about exercising, and we had kind of been through, like, the gym rat phase, and then we were runner girls, and then we were doing Pilates, and, like, our workout wardrobes completely changed every single time. Yeah. And we just, like, noticed that, you know, like, there's not a lot of variety in workout clothes. Like, they're all solid colors, which, for the record, this is so frustrating, because that was, like, an original idea that we're like, this is an untapped new market. Like, this is, because my whole thing was like, we can start a business, we can do something, but we need to have, like, a different product.
Yeah,
like,
you gotta stand out.
We gotta stand out, and we gotta find, like, a hole in the market and fill it. And I feel like we absolutely cooked with our Lena idea, and we were like, this is, like, girly activewear, like, more feminine. Like, there's so many ways to brand this and advertise this, and, like, all these things. But so we did it for a year, and we were fully self-funded, and we just, like, sent it, doing it, learned it all on our own. Like, neither one of us had taken business classes. We weren't in business classes. We literally just, like, we were both in school full time, about to graduate, had a year left of school. And so we were just like, let's just send it and do it. And so we did, and we really did build, like, I think something that we're both very proud of. And we both just graduated in April. And so we kind of were like, okay, like, let's go do summer sales, let's, like, make some money, and then let's, like, put it into the business, and then, like, kind of see. But then she obviously, you know, got engaged, and I started working, and so we kind of have, like, put it on pause for now. And I do think it's something that we'll revisit someday. But it's so unfortunate, because now Lulu, Aloe, everybody has, like, patterned workout clothes. Milk Stain, that's, like, another Set Active, like, all these, like, bougie things that we're just like, bruh, like, that was supposed to be us, but we just we were just two girls that, you know, it takes time to build a business, and we did it for 1 year, and we gave it our all, and it was just time to put on pause and focus on, like, our careers a little bit. Because for me, it was never, at least not in the beginning, it was never something that I was just like, okay, I'm going to throw everything into this. Like, I had my career aspirations, I had my career goals and my path that I was on, and she knew that. And so,
were you in business school, or what did you go into?
So my undergrad, my bachelor's degree was intercultural peace building from BYU Hawaii. That's why I'm very passionate about all that stuff. And then I did my master's at BYU in public administration. So it's in the Marriott School of Business, but it's public sector rather than private sector. Right. So yeah, it was not really, like, business related. I mean, my dad's an entrepreneur. Her dad's an entrepreneur. So we were, like, familiar enough. Sure. But we were like, let's just send it. Let's just do it. So,
Yeah.
And it was so fun. We learned so much. It was so cool to be creative and to watch something grow and to kind of create something that hadn't been created before, especially like where we were at in Utah County. And just to be part of that community was really cool because there are so many awesome like women-owned small businesses. And it was just cool. It was really inspiring. But on pause for now. So.
Yeah. No, it was cool. I obviously I was not going to buy anything for me at least. But when I saw you guys were doing it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I followed because I was wanting to see how you guys grew it and where it went. So that'll be cool. It'll be cool if you guys bring it back and get it going because that's I think you guys had a good idea there. I still think it's a good idea.
You.
I know it sounds like some other people are snagging the idea, but
I know.
but I think you guys had something going there. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Very cool. Yeah.
Cool.
So Lexi, I've loved this conversation. It's been a lot of fun.
Told you I'm a yapper.
Yeah, I know. You're good. It was great. Not even on caffeine.
I know.
You did awesome. Anything you want people to know, websites, where they can look things up, any promotions of anything like that?
Yeah. Go to prosperityelevated.com if you're in Utah. If you're not in Utah, just look into Americans for Prosperity in your state. And I'm pretty sure Arizona has a chapter. So, just if you ever have wanted to dip your toes in the water with politics and start learning how you can be, an engaged citizen and fulfill your duty as a citizen, you should go to those websites. And God bless America. We live in the best nation on earth, and we need to fight for it, or else it'll be gone.
Absolutely. So, amen to that. You gonna run for office at some point?
No. Heck no.
We'll get you.
God would have to tell me, and I would. If God told me to, I would. But that is the only way I would.
Uh-oh. Well, the message is out, so you might start calling. Lexi, it's been great having you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to do it again. And go follow her on her socials. What are your socials? Do you want to disrupt those?
TikTok, I think, is just Lexi Langley 1. Instagram is just Lexi Langley. So, yeah.
Awesome. Get political, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.